History is full of great mysteries, isn't it? We dig up bits of pottery, find old coins, and try to piece together how people lived their lives hundreds or even thousands of years ago. But some mysteries are bigger and much darker. One of the biggest has always been about the world's very first pandemic, a terrifying disease that swept across continents long before we understood what germs were. This was the Plague of Justinian, named after the Byzantine Emperor who was on the throne when it struck. For centuries, we've only had the words of frightened scribes to tell us what happened, but we never truly knew what caused all that death and suffering. It was a ghost that haunted the history books. The Plague of Justinian was an absolute catastrophe. It first appeared around the year AD 541 and didn't fully disappear for over 200 years, coming back in terrifying waves until about AD 750. It spread like wildfire through the Byzantine Empire, which covered much of the Mediterranean world, including parts of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. Think about that for a moment. This wasn't just a local outbreak. It was a global event for the world as they knew it. The death toll was staggering, with estimates suggesting it killed anywhere from 25 million to an almost unbelievable 100 million people. It completely reshaped society, crippled armies, and changed the course of an empire. For modern scientists and archaeologists, the burning question has always been, what was this monstrous killer? We had descriptions from ancient writers, like the historian Procopius, who wrote about people developing fevers and strange swellings, which we call buboes. These accounts sounded an awful lot like the bubonic plague, but without physical proof, we couldn't be certain. Was it the same bacterium that caused the later Black Death, or was it something else entirely? To solve this cold case, nearly 1,500 years old, researchers needed more than just old texts. They needed to find a victim, someone who had died from the disease and could still tell their story through the secrets locked inside their bones. The mission then was to find direct biological evidence. It's one thing to have a theory based on historical writings, but it's another thing entirely to hold scientific proof in your hands. The challenge is immense, because tiny, fragile bacteria from so long ago rarely survive the ages. But with advances in modern genetics, a new possibility opened up. If scientists could find human remains from a known plague burial site from that exact period, they might just be able to find tiny fragments of the killer's DNA. This would allow them to identify the pathogen beyond any doubt, finally giving a name to the invisible enemy that brought a mighty empire to its knees. The breakthrough came from an incredible archaeological site in the modern-day country of Jordan. In the ancient city of Jerash, a place that was once a bustling part of the Byzantine Empire, archaeologists were excavating beneath the ruins of a Roman hippodrome, a massive stadium for chariot races. Here, they uncovered something somber, a mass grave. This wasn't a typical cemetery with neat and tidy burials. It was a place where many people had been laid to rest all at once, suggesting they were the victims of some terrible fast-moving event. The burial dated right to the heart of the plague period, somewhere between the mid-6th and early 7th centuries AD, making it a prime location for investigation. With the site identified, a team of researchers from the University of South Florida knew this was their chance. They carefully excavated the remains, focusing on the teeth. Teeth are absolutely brilliant for this kind of work. They are like tiny time capsules, protected by hard enamel that can preserve genetic material for millennia. While the rest of the body decays, the pulp inside a tooth can trap the DNA of any pathogens that were in a person's bloodstream when they died. The team collected 8 human teeth from different individuals found within this mass grave in Jerash, hoping that at least one of them held the genetic clues they were looking for. The real magic happened back in the laboratory. Using cutting-edge techniques, the scientists drilled into the ancient teeth to get to the pulp chamber inside. From there, they carefully extracted all the genetic material they could find. This is painstaking work as you're dealing with DNA that is incredibly old and broken into tiny pieces. The team then had to sequence all of these fragments and piece them together like a massive microscopic jigsaw puzzle. They were hunting for the specific genetic signature of a very particular suspect, a bacterium known to history as a notorious killer. It was a long shot, but the potential reward was a definitive answer to a 1,500-year-old mystery. And then, they found it. Among all the human DNA, they discovered the unmistakable genetic fingerprint of Yersinia pestis, the bacterium that causes the bubonic plague. It was the first direct, hard evidence confirming that this was the culprit behind the Plague of Justinian. The DNA was found in victims from the Byzantine Empire, proving the bacterium was present and active between AD 550 and 660. The strains found in the different victims were nearly identical, suggesting they were all part of the same deadly outbreak. After centuries of speculation, science had finally caught the killer, providing the first solid biological proof to back up the ancient stories. This discovery was so much more than just a laboratory result. It was like finding a Rosetta Stone that connected modern science with ancient history. For years, historians had studied the writings of people who lived through the plague, like the scholar Procopius. He wrote in vivid detail about how the disease began, noting that it seemed to originate in Egypt, near a port city called Pelusium. From there, he described how it spread with terrifying speed, moving along the busy trade routes of the Mediterranean Sea, infecting port after port. It traveled through the Middle East, up into the heart of the Byzantine Empire in Constantinople, and then outward into Europe. It was a truly chilling account of a world under siege. Now, with the new DNA evidence, these old stories suddenly clicked into place. The mass grave in Jerash, Jordan, is only about 200 miles away from Pelusium in Egypt, where the plague was said to have started. Finding Yersinia pestis in Jerash provides a perfect geographical and chronological link that supports the historical narrative. It shows that the disease was indeed active in that exact region at that exact time. It's as if the ancient text provided a map, and the genetic discovery was the X that marked the spot, proving the map was real. The science confirmed what the historians had long suspected, validating the accounts of those who witnessed the horror firsthand. What makes this even more fascinating is how it paints a picture of a connected ancient world. The plague didn't just appear out of nowhere in different places at once. It followed the paths of human contact, the shipping lanes carrying grain, the roads traveled by merchants, and the routes taken by armies. The discovery in Jerash helps us trace that path. Finding the bacterium so close to its likely origin point in Egypt strengthens the entire timeline of its spread. It shows us an empire linked by trade and commerce, but also one that was incredibly vulnerable, where a disease in one corner of the map could bring devastation to all the others. This is why interdisciplinary work is so important. Archaeologists find the sites, historians interpret the texts, and geneticists analyze the physical remains. When you put them all together, you get a much richer and more complete picture of the past. Before this study, the cause of the Plague of Justinian was a strong but unproven theory. Now, it is a scientific fact. We can say with confidence that the terror described by Procopius was caused by Yersinia pestis. This confirmation doesn't just solve a mystery, it breathes new life into the historical records, making them more powerful and immediate than ever before. One of the most profound implications of this discovery is that it officially links the Plague of Justinian to the most infamous pandemic in human history, the Black Death. The Black Death ravaged Europe in the 14th century, about 800 years after the Plague of Justinian first emerged. We have long known that the Black Death was caused by the bacterium Yersinia pestis. Now, with this new evidence, we know for certain that the same type of bacterium was responsible for both of these world-changing pandemics. It means that humanity has fought and been devastated by this particular microscopic enemy on at least two separate, massive occasions. This raises some fascinating questions. The strain of Yersinia pestis from the Justinian era appears to be a distinct branch on the bacterium's family tree, one that eventually died out. The strain that caused the Black Death evolved separately, emerging centuries later to cause its own wave of destruction. It's like two deadly cousins from the same lethal family. This tells us that the plague bacterium has been a threat for a very long time, with evidence of virulent forms found as far back as 1800 BC. The Plague of Justinian wasn't the beginning of the story, but it was the first time it caused a full-blown pandemic that we know of. Comparing the two pandemics reveals both stark similarities and important differences. Both were characterized by the terrifying buboes, fever, and rapid death described in historical sources. Both spread along trade routes and brought societies to a standstill, killing a massive percentage of the population. The Black Death is estimated to have killed up to 50% of Europe's population in just a few years. The Plague of Justinian, while its death toll was spread over a longer period, may have killed an even greater number of people across a wider geographical area. Both events fundamentally altered the course of history, leading to economic collapse, social upheaval, and a shift in global power. Ultimately, solving the mystery of the Plague of Justinian is crucial for understanding our own history and our relationship with infectious diseases. It reminds us that pandemics are not a modern phenomenon. They have been shaping human civilization for thousands of years, toppling empires and rewriting our story. By using modern technology to look back into the past, we can learn how these diseases emerge, how they spread, and what their impact can be. This knowledge isn't just about satisfying historical curiosity. It helps us better prepare for the challenges of the future, reminding us of the enduring power of these invisible foes.